Okay, so welcome. This is, I think, the sixth or the seventh episode of Data Dragons, where every week we meet to discuss data related topics around everything, well, not just data, everything related around IT. And yeah, so that is what we are doing today. And I am really excited to have Kowi or Kgotlello on today's to just share with us not just data project coordination, but his journey through being an intern to now being permanent. And I mean, he has just leveled up so much. His story is incredible, and I really can't wait to hear it today. So, I wanted to kick off with something quite easy, but it is still something that people don't always understand. Information technology is, it's a vast ecosystem, and many people might not really understand how a project coordinator is different to a software manager, and how does your role fit within the greater ecosystem of the uh, IT department or world, if you will.
Um, sure. That's a good one. I mean, at the end of the day, if I can just start it like this, everything in IT, whether we like it or not, is somehow intertwined. You might say that you are more into data, but you have a reliance on networking or on cloud or anything like that. So it depends about, like you said, what you very much want to specialize in. Um, The question is, where does it all fit in? I think me, personally, how I see it, it's all about as being in the project office. It's all about coordination and kind of planning and just ensuring that you have your players. It's almost like being a coach, you know. You might not be good at football or you might not be good at netball, but you have to become a coach because not every player is gonna shine if they're just doing things independently. So it's more of a coach slash manager slash supporter kind of role. We're just there to cheer you on. We're not the actual players, but we're here to share our strategy with you in the bigger picture so that you can perform on the ground.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's a great synopsis of it. Following from that, I'd actually really like to hear about. So you started off, obviously, I mean, you finished school, but now you're like a fully fledged project coordinator, and you've done unbelievable things. But could you just describe your journey there? Like, what made you choose project coordination in the first place? Because surely you would have had opportunities to look into other things. You've mentioned networking and data, but you really could have gone in any direction. Was there a particular knack you had for it, or did you just see that the industry was moving in such a way that you would have had more opportunities here?
Um, Firstly, my journey, as you said, started off in school, straight after school, like a week after my final paper. Flew over, became an intern, and that's really where the flowers started blooming, if I can put it that way. It's almost like being exposed as a plant to some water, some wind, some sun. That's where you get a chance to actually open up. And what my son was, what I was attracted to as a plant was people and processes. I think that's a very big part in my personality, just not liking to do repetitive work. I enjoy, different personalities, different peoples, because they bring different challenges. And I always wanted to told myself and my mentors and people who are guiding me that I want to be in a place where I feel most valuable and I feel like I would make the greatest impact. And I think it's just a match of my personality and how I like to also structure things that made me eventually join kind of the projects side of things.
Okay, so it was a combination of like personality and then what you were seeing. Um, I think that's so
Right.
fascinating. I don't know if any software developers would be like, I like people, but
Nah, but
you.
the thing is, when I first started out in IT, the number one thing I researched more than anything else was what's the future of IT, you know? It's always a question that you should have, especially in the field that you're working on. And around the time that I was getting into the field, I remember cloud was a big bang, as well as projects. There was this new buzzword that says there's projects running here, there's projects to do this, there's a project to bring Amazon servers to South Africa, there's a project to extend the underwater internet lines and stuff like that. So it's almost like everything has to go through this phase before it's normalized. You know, you look at music, they call whatever they're doing a project. You look in fashion, they call it a project. It's that buzzword and just looking towards what the future holds and how you match up to it.
I think that foresight is unbelievable. Just, being able to recognize that there was a common denominator in everything. That's just fantastic. So, partly I wanted to move on from this and uncover what is your day to day like as a project coordinator, but also what do you say when somebody questions the need for like projects within IT? Because there's always someone who feels like projects is nothing more than emails and phone calls.
Yeah, so firstly, my day to day is filled with a lot of emails and phone calls. I won't lie about that. It's a whole lot of talking to people, whether you want to or not. You might say I might not have a voice or I'm scared to be over the phone, but there's so many mediums of communication. You know, you're just not restricted to a letter or an email or call. You have your Teams, you have your Slacks, you have Jira, or a ticketing system that could be used as a form of communication without necessarily jumping with someone on the phone because it acts almost like an instant message. So there's a whole lot of calls, there's a whole lot of emailing and texting backs, but it's also about another facet is documenting so that you make it easier for people in operations once the project is done to start receiving the project and being able to use it. There's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself as to, okay, fine, I did this project, but how is it going to be used? You know, that's kind of the mentality I try and go into it with. Where might user struggles, what might need a touch up on. And I feel like in my role or the style in which I go about with projects is just try and put yourself in the user's shoes. You're not always gonna deliver what they want, but deliver something that they can use and they know how to use it, if I'm making sense.
Okay, and
So
so you said that you don't always deliver what the users want. Like, could you maybe elaborate on that?
sorry, I'm just gonna switch up my video so I can get a charger quickly.
Okay, cool.
You want me to sing a song while we're on? Bim 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 bim.
Oh, I actually really missed your comedic moments. Gosh, if it isn't clear, now, Washila, Kowi and I used to work together, and the entire day in the office would basically be him cracking jokes in between like moments of intense seriousness when he would be working.
But
Just
it's
wait
nice
for
to
that
have that
focus Friday.
positivity in the office.
Yeah. We can't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, our job is already serious, and everybody's like IT, IT. We also need a breathing break. We're human. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got my charger up. What was the question that you had? I'm not sure if the
Um,
lighting is bad or not. I'm not sure.
I
Okay.
was just asking, you said that you don't always deliver what the users want.
Yeah.
Um, is
So,
that just because of a requirements thing, or could you maybe go into that?
I mean, I personally would like to not pay for petrol as a user, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't pay for petrol or the government can actually give me that. There's always a fine line between what's realistic and also a big thing is what aligns to what we're trying to achieve as an organization. You know, you need to be strategic in whatever the user is wanting, and you need to find a way to fit it in the bigger picture, which the user might or the stakeholder or the requester might not be be privy to or even care about. It's about being realistic as well. I know they say in projects and in specifically in project management, you have to under promise and rather over deliver. You know, you don't want to be in a place where you're accepting and you're promising the world, then you end up giving people rocks. So what a user wants is not always going to be what they get, but the huge but in there is making it clear to them, you know. That's why a big part in projects, or I would say in any IT landscape, that has to start off with something is your due diligence, you know, the user requirements and the system requirements and making sure that they can be met. Otherwise, you're just gonna be building something that you might not end up be able to use due to your system not being capable to run whatever you want and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying that I won't give you what you want, but it's all about aligning and being realistic and to as to what you can deliver.
I see you have a raised hand. You can just go straight ahead and ask your question, eh?
Okay, Kowi, it's Faris here. So I have a question for you. How do you scrutinize or what questions do you ask yourself whether a specific feature that you add is feasible for the business that you're doing the project for? Is there
I
specific
mean,
questions that you ask
mhm.
yourself when you're getting a URS or a functional spec? You know what are the tricks or questions that you ask yourself to basically get the best quality out of that document that's going to feed into your delivery of the project.
I mean, the questions that I kind of ask myself, excuse me.
I'm gonna get Kowi back 2 seconds. I'm so sorry about that, Faris.
Okay, cool.
Okay, at least the WhatsApp messages are going through.
Apologies about that. Sorry for that, everyone. All right. I think my sneeze was just too powerful and it switched off my phone. The question was, what questions do I ask myself? Kind of like my cheat code. First of all, um, do you have the necessary level or are you at the necessary position to first of all be asking this? You know, everybody wants something, but only a few people are actually allowed to request for something because of what I said earlier on, being strategic and aligning to your vision and your goal you want to meet as an organization or as a company. So that's the first thing. Does it align with what we're doing?
Mhm.
What benefit are we getting from this? Um, and just to add kind of a clause there, not all projects are going to be beneficial in terms of monetary wise or user experience wise. Some projects are going to be purely explet black scent is coming out here, exploratory. You know, they're meant for
Okay.
you to explore, and as you're going on that project, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you discover that you would have spent months and years on discovering piece by piece. So I mean that to say, so you have to ask, what is it for? What does it align to what we're doing? And what is it realistic? I think is also a big thing.
Mm.
That's kind of my cheat code. And then from there on, it's all about your due diligence, finding out those answers to the questions that you ask before you take on any form of work. I mean, that's why I would say networking in IT is so big, you know. You need to know different people in different fields that you can pick their brain about something without necessarily having to pay that 500 rands an hour consultancy fee, you know.
Yeah.
The more people you know, and the more people who are willing to share their knowledge with you as mentors or wanting you to grow, the better. Because as a project manager, I shouldn't know everything technical about something, but it is great if I'm able to give someone a call, and just ask. I have one of my friends who I live with, who's a tester, and there was a project that I'm working for, and I'm trying to create a project plan, and I'm just trying to understand the background instead of having now to go to company X to pay for a consultant to give me kind of an overview. Mind you, the project hasn't started yet. To give me an overview as to what's happening, I can just go to that person that I know and have networked with. You know, I even
Yeah.
forgot what the question was. I hope
So,
it answers it.
so what you're saying is that networking is a big part of achieving um, or getting some base jumping into a project, just to get some familiar
Yeah, I
um,
mean, you're not gonna
terms and,
know. You're not gonna
yes,
know
of course.
everything.
Yeah.
Um, Even
Okay.
as a technical person, you
But
might not
sometimes,
know what's happening.
there is that expectation that you should know everything as a project
That's
manager. I mean, I've come
that's
across
why I'm
guys.
saying you need to know the questions to ask and have a bit of understanding with everything that you're doing. You
Yeah.
don't have to have complete understanding, but understand in user terms, the ones that you're gonna be communicating to and the people that you delivering the project for. You need to explain to them very low level what's happening on a technical side. I mean, there's a quote by Albert Einstein that says, if you cannot explain something to a 3-year old, then you do not truly know the concept of it. And I think that's the same thing with a project. If I can't tell my stakeholder what's happening technically wise without explaining it to them in a manner that they understand, then I don't really know what's happening.
Mm, okay.
Damn, these are some good quotes. I hope I can get some of these in there. It sounds on WhatsApp status.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll put it on a t-shirt for you.
Mm,
Okay, and then just to add to what Kowi said, from a product viewpoint, it really is in the beginning about that discovery and unpacking the problem from many different layers. We normally don't build what users request. You try and figure out the many layers of things that are buried within the problems that they have, because, oh, otherwise you end up building 10,000 features. Yeah, and many of them are unnecessary. So, yes, that, and then the prioritization aspect. Kowi, you have worked in situations where, you work with a variety of stakeholders, and you data engineers, analysts, developers, and of course the infrastructure side of IT. How do you go about dealing with some of the pain points in your daily struggles when a project is not going to plan, or when issues are coming across, or just stakeholders being um,
Stakeholders.
unreal? Yeah, no, being themselves.
Stakeholders will always stakehold. To me, and it's something that I've been, I would say, kind of criticized for, kind of made fun of. I'm known to be somebody very diplomatic. I'm not just gonna say just because you say and throw somebody under the bus, that's how automatically it is. I try and show, because here's the thing with dealing with projects, you're gonna deal with people, which means there's a psychological kind of thinking behind it. You need to know who your stakeholders are. You need to understand what gets them going, what makes them upset, what makes them mad. The same way I would treat a stakeholder for Project Y doesn't mean it's the same way I treat the stakeholder for Project Z. Some stakeholders are going to be more understanding than others. For understanding stakeholders, you don't really need to blah them with 1,000 apologies and spamming them with updates every 2 seconds, because it's almost like, I just want to understand and have a brief understanding of what's happening at that moment. But then there are some stakeholders that you need to hold their hand throughout the whole project, that you need to guide them and update them, just so that they feel that form of security, which is the way that psychology and project management comes in. chapter for a book. If I ever write a book, that should be my first chapter. Psychology of project management. Um, it very much depends on who your stakeholders are. You you need to find a way to make them happy. You need to find a way to make them feel secured. And the only way you can do that is unfortunately spending more time with them. I can't say I know a stakeholder is like this without actually having time to spend with them constantly, and understanding the type of person they are. So yeah, it's all about your audience and knowing how to cater to your audience.
Okay, that's fascinating. So, in the same way, within that Surrounded by Idiots book, you go, not that I'm saying stakeholders are idiots, but Surrounded by Idiots book, where you like categorize people into different things and how they don't communicate well, you're also doing the same thing with your stakeholders. Oh, I actually read that book, so I should be doing it with mine. But
You
yeah,
gave me the book.
yeah, it is a fantastic way. I think that is beneficial advice, not just for work, but for life as well, to
Mm.
just approach and to spend more time communicating. So great,
And,
great.
and I won't lie. Sometimes it gets tiring. We are human after all. It's not like a system that gives you error fold 2 and you know what error fold 2 is, so you know where to look at. There's gonna be a lot of days that's why I said, how do you deal with being a project manager? I say you just cry sometimes. It's good to have a healthy work-life balance so that all these frustrations that you can build up, it's almost like being a therapist to some level. You're the therapist of IT in IT. You need to be able to listen to all the problems, react, and advise on them. But everything sticks with you. When you are called a schmuck, or you were told that your project team member doesn't know how to work, or they're even giving them praise, and you come home too excited only to find out that it's your cat's funeral. You need to be able to deal with things accordingly. You need an outlet to let things out. So it's also very important to have that work-life balance. Go swimming, go smoke, go drink. I'm not advocating for drinking, but have something that you can release your stress, especially when dealing with people as a job.
Okay, okay, that's fantastic. Talking about dealing with people, you are, so I don't know if you're still primarily office based, but oh, okay, you are. But remote and hybrid has become quite a norm. And how is that affecting your dealing with people when you cannot just take a walk to their desk now, and you are very much people focused and you need to speak to someone right now?
That's why we have teams.
Oh, yeah, yeah. When you can't get hold of them
um,
on Teams, go.
I I I try and reach out, whether it's through mail. I think you've seen a few of my mails. They're like, trust that this email finds you well, and help and time is much appreciated. And filling in the little parts that make somebody feel like it's attentive towards them. Um, so it's all about getting somebody's attention. Um, Otherwise, we have to do what nobody likes in IT, which is escalate. Um, but yeah, it's all about reaching out and making it, you know, the like one. I don't know if I should say my company or company I used to work for, or ex company. But there's a company that took its employees to a workshop, and after that, employees were more willing and open to talk to each other over Teams or while they're remote and stuff like that, because there is an association to this name and to this face, and there's a certain personality behind that. It's not just an avatar behind the screen.
I think that's fascinating. Yeah, I definitely the blend between asynchronous and synchronous working is so important, and yeah, that's why hybrid is probably one the most popular of the working ways of work, I should say.
I mean,
Yeah.
even if it's fully remote, you also need some time to come together as a team, whether it's once a year or twice a year, where you're like, oh, this is Paul from marketing. She's a nice product owner or something like that. And you're like, oh, you actually Kowi, that guy from IT who keeps on spamming me. It makes you guys feel comfortable with being able to reach out to each other um, electronically as well.
Kowi sends so many emails, he doesn't even try to deny it. Please note his emails are like a book. It's like, trust us, you'll find well. Yeah, so you really are the king of spamming now, huh? Just embraced it.
Uh, I try now do it over full, but when push comes to shove, you also need to cover your butt. You need to have a paper trail to say, yo, I actually, which is something I would say is also important, right? Um, when dealing with people, people might have a tendency to say, no, this person didn't reach out or you didn't try well enough. But if you, they call it CYA, one of the people who, while as an intern were mentoring me, calls it cover your ass, you know. It's fine. You can have a phone call with somebody, but follow it up with something written just so that they know what you discussed and it's visible should any poo-poo hit the fan.
Okay, I'm just going to ask if there's any other questions before I continue. I just want to give the floor to somebody else, for example. I'm going to count to 5 and then continue with mine. Okay, cool. Kowi, I know when you started, there was, in our particular IT departments, there was no one really, how do I say this? Our representation wasn't very diverse and we didn't have much opportunity. Well, within the management structure, you couldn't see much diversity either within gender or within race. And do you think this affected you? I don't really know how to say this. Do you feel the lack of adequate representation within senior management or just positions of prominence within our particular department negatively impacted your outlook, or do you think it like changed the way you approach things, or do you feel like it was safe enough for you to move within that space?
Um,
And have you seen more representation in the past few years? Because you've been working now for about 5 years, if I'm correct.
yeah, I'll just speak in IT in general, just as like a general field without being specific, right? Um, Unfortunately, um, IT is predominantly a white male um, space, if I can put it like that. And I think that's with most of the things in South Africa of any prominence when it comes to industry. Um, and yes, representation does matter as well, but here's the mentality I have. Fine, I might not have representation that I want, but what's that saying for the generation coming after me? You know, am I just gonna say because there wasn't any representation, I shouldn't aim for that? I feel like you should be the change that you want to see. So I need to also climb up the ranks so that 10, 15 years later from now, for example, a black young male in South Africa can also look up towards being something big in IT, whether a manager or something more senior. When it comes to IT specifically, we know the challenges that women also go through. It's a big thing. There's not a lot of representation in there as well. Like I said, it's predominantly a male industry, if I can put it like that. So just like in times where we wanted to be represented as a group or a race or a gender, there are going to have to be some people that come out and say, I will be somebody who makes that first step of representing. You know, you have an example in American politics. There was no black president, and it was never a dream for many black young males until Obama became president. And now it's almost like, oh, shucks, this is now a reality. If Obama took the same mindset and it's like, I don't have any representation, I've never seen a black president before, then we wouldn't even have him. So it's all about coming over that adversity, and some people are born with being the natural fighters and being the people who fight for what's right. And some people would rather see an example of somebody who is trying to achieve that. So it's something that you will, as an individual, as a person of color, as a female, as a young person in South Africa in general, will always have to face. And it's all about your attitude and just trying to find the bigger picture and think about the legacy that you are going to leave behind as well. I mean, IT in South Africa is relatively very young. Um, it's almost like the music scene or the art scene. We are doing a lot of the things that we've seen other countries do it. So there is still time to mature. There's still time to mold it. We just need people who play a part in that and are not scared or don't feel like they don't belong in there. You need to have problem makers in the field, if I can put it like that, who will, who will question the status quo and who will be an inspiration to future generations as well.
I think that was a
Political.
beautiful way to say it, Kowi. That's nice. That was lovely. Yes, you are right. Without the first step, no one can go afterwards.
Correct.
Okay. And then my final big question. You started off with an internship. I think it was 3 years, if I'm correct. 3-year internship. And you did a wide variety of techniques. Can you just speak into that IT internship? What was the value you got out of it? What were some takeaways? And if there's any uh, thoughts you would give on how to improve IT internships or how to make them more valuable for the youth or anyone
Um,
else?
excuse me. The biggest thing to me was the exposure. I don't think any level of schooling or any level of whatever school I went to would have exposed me to the different fields that are there, not just theoretically speaking. There is some positions that get made up just because you're good at something. So that it kind of put me in a world of corporate and what the mindset behind that is and stuff like that. It wasn't an easy kind of journey, but it was beneficial in a form of that these are people who firstly want to see me grow, and are willing to hold my hand while doing it. And I think more and more of these should happen. More opportunities like this should happen to bring people out and say, this is what we have, this is what we offer, this is how it can change, this is how you can be a contributor to this industry, this is how you can be a game changer. And yeah, the biggest thing to me was exposure, if I can put it like that.
Okay, so the biggest thing was exposure. That's fascinating. So you really got it to be able to see all the different. Did he drop off again? Or was that my internet?
No, I think he dropped off.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna wait 1 minute, otherwise I will end the call here. I'm just gonna give it about a minute or two. Sorry, guys. Kowi, you okay? Is the internet giving issues?
Sorry, I'm receiving calls. I'm not sure if it's an emergency or not. So I quickly pick them up and rejoin. But yeah, we need more SDP programs. We need more exposures. We need more practicals. As a society, I would like to say, and yeah,
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Kowi, and thank you guys for attending. I really appreciate it. I'm going to end it tonight here. Thank you so much. It was lovely having you on, Kowi, and it was really great to hear your thoughts and just to get an insight into data project coordination. It is
next
always.
episode will actually go into the data part of it
Oh,
if
okay.
I'm invited. But thank you, Celestine. I'm glad that I could share whatever I know, and it's a great initiative that you're doing. Like I said, we need more people like you in the industry to just make it grow and mature. So props to you for that.
Thank you so
I
much.
have to drop off and I'll see you.
Yes, well, cool. Thank you so much, guys, and see you at the next one. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.